Hey everybody, thanks for joining us for the Detox Project. This is Dr. Ryan Berlin
Ashley Berlin. I'm his wife.
and we're doing this together and going to just go over some really awesome information today. So what we want you guys to do is just grab a notepad, grab a pen, and lean in because we're going to go over some awesome stuff. So I'm going to actually introduce my wife. That Ashley's health journey started years ago. She was actually brought up in a pretty health-minded family, but then she actually, unbeknownst to her, had some genetic stuff that she was dealing with that created some concerns around toxicity. But again, this was unbeknownst to her until actually it was a vaccine, first one she ever got before she went to college, that kind of sent her into a whirlwind of health issues that took what, probably.
Yeah, so it really took me about 8 years to really where things got very bad, and I just wasn't detoxing at all, and so I was accumulating one health condition and problem after another, and almost 8 years into it, things were very bad and very dark, and I was experiencing frequent anxiety, panic attacks. I was not, I just wasn't clearing toxins out of my body, and that accumulation was really bad for me. And I really had to dig deep into my health and figure things out.
Yeah, so I mean, it took the better half of 10 years to get to where we are right now.
Absolutely.
And interesting thing is we're actually celebrating 10 years this month. So it's literally been our whole marriage has been working through this. And so that's why our mission really in our lives and in my office and with what Ashley's doing online, our mission is we really want to just empower people to live healthier lives, and we want them to understand that it's possible, and
Absolutely.
that even when they're in a place where they may not feel like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, anything is possible. That you can be in the darkest spot that you've ever been in your entire life, and it feels like you're in a cave and you can't get out of it, but you absolutely can, and you don't have to turn to medication to do it. You can help yourself naturally. So we're definitely here to spread that message and talk about that.
Awesome. Couple events we have coming up. So if this was church, these are the announcements. If you're watching this after this has occurred, that's okay. But here's what we have: is we had an essential oil class last night, tonight, and then patient appreciation day in our office on the 14th. That's your opportunity to come in and get checked. We actually donate all the first visit proceeds to a charity, and those charities are always changing. This one. Honestly, I don't remember who we're donating to on this one. I let the staff pick this one. So
yeah, they're always an amazing local charity.
yeah, coat drives and cool stuff. The juicing workshop, I'm really excited about this, June 5th. If you want to get registered, there's a couple ways. Number one, email my office at info@alignhealthcenter.com. Reach out to us on Facebook. And the last way you can get involved in this is search for our Ashley and I's Facebook group. So we have, I have Align Healthy Families. So if you search Align Healthy Families, you'll find the private group. And then Ashley has...
I have Wellnest Living Community. Yeah. So my page is Wellnest Living, WELLNEST Living. And then we also have a community group.
And then Ashley's going to be doing a talk on June 12th on genetic mutations, which is the whole thing that she has really overcame. That's going to be on June 12th. 7 p.m. And my goal is hopefully we'll get some live coverage of that.
Yeah, we can do some live stuff, and that's at the Liberty Farm Market. So yeah.
So how do we unpack this? Here's the ground rules: is that everything that we teach, the two of us, we really look at 5 core areas, and they're all the way from chiropractic through nutrition, mindset, really exercise. So it's all about oxygen and lean body mass. And then lastly, toxicity. And so today, obviously, we're going through and unpacking toxicity. Our goal is to learn what changes we can make today to really age with vitality and strength. And we really want this built on the principle that healthy lifestyle sustains our well-being, and that we don't need any one magical, pill or potion, but it's just our lives in general. So, number one, why are we here? Unpack that one, Ash.
Yeah, so things have just gotten, over the past 30 years, things have just gotten bad. It's interesting. We've talked about I've talked about this before with friends of mine, and I actually recently had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and it was the same conversation that I've been having really for the last 15 years. And there's a lot of people who, when they look at their health, they don't really understand how it works, and they're scared that they're going to get struck with a disease because disease seems like lightning bolts, or you just get struck with them. And so, when we look at the state of where things are, asthma and allergies have tripled, obesity in children has doubled, adolescent obesity has tripled. We're in an incredibly big new era for autoimmune diseases. Autism is 1 in 50 children, and that number continues to climb at an alarming rate. There's 8 million children on psychotropic drugs. 1 in 4 Americans have insomnia. The female epidemic is hormone and thyroid disease. Human tests now show that 100% of human fat is toxic with PCBs, styrene, and diotoxins. The USA Today reports that the average public water contamination is contaminated with over 500 chemicals. So 100% of humans are toxic with DDT contamination, and by age 6, some children have now half their total lifetime amounts of cancer-causing chemicals within their system.
That's remarkable. We know now also, I mean, to add to that, over 50 to 90% of foods in the U.S. have detectable levels of pesticide residues thanks to Monsanto and glyphosate, and 95% of all cancers are caused by diet and environmental triggers. But I think to good cop this one a little bit, I think the reason why we're all here is because we know that we don't want that.
Absolutely. I think that there's a huge awakening. Everybody, the eyes are opening, and we want different for ourselves. We want different for our kids, and so I think that there definitely is hope out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't want better for like their kids and their kids' kids? And so the challenge that we do at the end of this, we have a points-based challenge. If you're listening to this after the fact, you can kind of create your own challenge, I guess. But for ours, it's going to be nutritionally focused, supplement supported, lifestyle oriented. Consistency is really the key. We're going to have some points in this. And so, again, contact us via email, info@alignhealthcenter.com. Check out the Wellness Living community page, and also check out Align Healthy Families. The detox protocol that we use all Maximize Living branded supplements. And the reason we use these is because Maximize Living has just a commitment to using no processed ingredients, grass-fed, whey, protein, organic ingredients. The other thing is all the supplements. What we did was we had like 300 offices that were all buying supplements all over the place. Like, you remember when we were doing like Carlson's fish oil and other brands?
Yes, yep.
And it just became a sourcing nightmare to always stay on track of like who's doing it well, and then better yet, who's not changing their standards as they become popular. I think back like Garden of Life, who used to help formulate some of our supplements, they sold to Nestle.
Yeah, they got bought out, and so staying on the latest trend of what company's getting bought out by who is so difficult, even as practitioners. And so these are literally the best supplements on the planet.
Yeah, we have a premium supplement at a mid-market price, really, which is
Absolutely
awesome. Our vitamin D, I think, is one of the highest IUs of vitamin D that you can get in a capsule, and contains pre and probiotics, and is $23 for a month.
It's incredible.
Yeah, pricing's awesome. So let's talk about where do these sources come from. So number one, high levels of lead are being found in 2,000 different water systems across the U.S. And if that wasn't bad enough, collectively this supply of water goes to about 6 million people. 350 of those systems of drinking water that can have lead contamination, which is known to create brain toxicity, are going into daycares and schools. In the USA Today, a network investigation found that at least 180 of these water systems actually failed to notify consumers about the levels, and the federal rules require them to actually do so. So, there's really just a lot of ignoring standards that's happening. And the problem is us as the consumer, who are supposed to be being notified, we find out once they get caught. We find out. It's kind of like Vioxx, the drug Vioxx that was for heart disease. It was FDA approved. It was going to be the next greatest drug. And then they took it off the market once it started killing tons of people. And so, part of the reason you're listening to this is because you're actually concerned about this idea of toxicity. And the mere fact that you're concerned about it tells us that you're moving in the right direction. So we just really want to tell you, and we just really want to be excited and share with you that like you're on the right track.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's scary to think that those things can be in the water and we're unaware.
Another source, and I think we all know this, is like food. And Ashley just posted an article. If you haven't got a chance to read it, you should read it. It's on folic acid versus folate.
Yeah.
She talks about like its influence over genes and how it works in cells. And the big thing is understanding that processed food, about like virtually 100% of it,
Virtually 100% of it
contains folic acid, which is
yeah.
actually not only synthetic, but in time will create some pretty toxic issues within your body as far as processes are concerned,
Yeah.
cellularly, right?
On the cellular level, I mean, folic acid is man-made. It's never been found in nature, and it's not something that we should be consuming ever at all. Zero. And so when you consume that folic acid, it actually blocks the receptors so folate can't enter the cell. And so the cells can't perform the function that they need to function. They can't absorb folate. They can't perform the functions they need to. And so folic acid is such a detriment to our body, and it's just imperative that we stay away from it.
So one of the challenges that we always give people in this is start eating real food and stop eating things that actually have an ingredient list.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's incredible.
Like just start eating vegetables and start eating fruit. And like I jokingly say, if it didn't grow out of the ground or if it didn't have a face, don't eat it. And then when I say it didn't have a face, some people want to become vegan right away. But the reality is we'd all be better off if we just simply ate more things the way nature intended and stopped eating anything that was, basically if you didn't make it yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that I used to look at this from a lens, and I think perspective is everything. And I used to look at this from a lens like, man, I'm so deprived. Like I can't eat fast food, or I can't have those, processed food, whatever it is. And now I just like understanding the way my body functions and like understanding what I need to thrive as a human being so that I'm here for a long time, so that I'm, playing with my grandkids like one day, very long in the future. Now I see it as just such an opportunity to feed myself and to, continually get better. And so it's just an opportunity to thrive. Food is all opportunity.
Yeah, legacy too. I think a big thing for us is with kids, it's like passing on that legacy. And our kids are watching us and they're doing what we're doing and we're setting patterns for them.
Yeah.
And so I remember like teaching Hudson and Brooks and not Eliana yet, but at the time Hudson and Brooks, and just teaching them there's really two food groups.
Yeah.
Right? Food, real food is food that like heals, it helps in growth and repair, and it supports all those 5 signs of life: excretion, assimilation, reproduction, all that. But then the stuff that's bad for us, the junk, the stuff that we know like isn't real food, what does it actually do? It actually damages all 5 of those signs of life. It damages reproduction, it damages repair and growth and assimilation and all that. So really there's either food or there's crap or junk, and there's no middle food group.
No, there's no middle food group. And speaking of handing that down generationally, that's not a concept that you came up with or that I came up with.
No.
I mean, it's a biblical concept. It's a principle
Yeah.
that, God talks about in the Bible, that, these generational blessings that you can hand down to your kids. And so for us, it's a privilege to be able to hand down a generational blessing. And in this case, it's, pertaining to food in our bodies.
So this one blew me away, and I know this is something that, plays a role in why we take care of our kids the way we do. But 2012, EWG did a study called 10 Americans, and they took blood samples from 10 Americans who had no direct exposure to toxins, which you think it would be impossible to find someone who had no direct exposure. But the reason they knew they had no direct exposure was because they were actually still in utero. So these were fetuses in their mother's womb, but they were able to take the blood from them. And 287 chemicals were found in their umbilical cords. And so it was an average of 200 per baby, so 287 chemicals total. 28 of them were waste byproducts, 47 of them were consumer produce ingredients like Teflon and Scotch Guard and flame retardants. 212 industrial chemicals and pesticides were found in their cord blood, and some of those chemicals had been banned over 30 years ago. So that goes back to what you're talking about like epigenetically passing things on, that we're actually even passing on toxic burden from mother to child, and then child again to child, and like literally we're passing on chemicals that are in our blood. Out of these, 158 were neurotoxins, 130 were considered toxic to our immune system, 186 of these chemicals caused infertility, So it's just crazy, 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 crazy stuff. Hormones are affected. Just sad, really. Um, Couple that with the fact that we know that 95% of all cancers are due to diet related toxins and accumulation of toxins in our atmosphere. It's just really sad. You know, I mean, we talk about this, how many chemicals are being used in our food that were never.
3,000 plus chemicals are added to our food supply, and that's not even counting the 10,000 plus chemicals that are used in food processing, preserving, and storage. So if your food can somehow live on a shelf, or longer than what like if you picked it and had it in your house, then something had to go into that.
Yeah.
And so there's just tons of chemicals that are getting added to our foods.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest thing with this is mindset and changing the way we think. Ashley and I are believers and rely heavily on Scripture for a lot of our wisdom. And so we talk about, the Bible talks about, transforming our mind, like be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so this all starts with mindset. And a big part of mindset is acknowledging that ignorance isn't bliss. Like, just because you didn't know something up to now, number one, you don't want to beat yourself up over not knowing. Like, you can't live in the rearview mirror.
Right.
But the big thing is, like, allowing ourselves opportunities to move forward and step into new territory and not counting everything as being lost, and really developing the mindset around, like, okay, seizing this opportunity to what's the word I want to use, like to recapture our health, which is really what you've done.
Absolutely. It absolutely can be done, and it can be an overwhelming thing. And so, really staying focused on, exactly what you said, not beating yourself up, giving yourself grace, because that stress of beating yourself up about not, the average teen today has more anxiety than the average psych ward patient in the 1960s. I mean, let that sink in for a second. The average family schedule would cause a mental breakdown in individuals in the 1950s. Right? And so self-inflicted toxic stress is the most common toxicity to all of us today, because we are all too busy.
Yeah, so we have, this, and we all give into it, like sports schedules, and we don't want to take away from our kids. We want them to play, sports and do things, but one of the things we find is just like it just gets too overwhelming. And with kids, they're saying their attention spans now, like due to technology and constant stimulation and the need for always being active, that the human attention span now is about 8 seconds. And everyone's like, oh, that makes sense. Like, I look at my phone, if my Wi-Fi signal is a little bit slow, I get really ticked off within about 8 seconds. But when you compare that to the fact that they measured the attention span of goldfish and it was 9 seconds, then that becomes like problematic. And we, I think it was Frederick Nietzsche that said, all a man's problems can be reduced down to his inability to sit alone in a room.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, so that I think is our minds have become toxic. And I was told that we think at a rate of about 10,000 words per minute, and roughly 70% of all of our self-dialogue is negative. So we're literally doing it to ourselves. So how do we remove these stressors? You don't have to do all these, but for a month, we really challenge people to some of the ideas. Like my big one is take a 30-day fast from Facebook.
It's incredible. It's good. Toxic schedule elimination. Work on saying no to the things that take away, from everything, from your family, from your life. This is literally what I've been focusing on this year is. Your
no.
best. Yeah, it's a year of no. It is. It's a year of no. And you know what? You can say I'm a yes monster, so I say yes to way too many things, and just really learning how to set some clear boundaries and say no. So, I was reading something recently that said you can tell how the trajectory of your life based on the things that you've said no to. Like that spoke so heavily to me.
Yeah. And no, you got to look at no as like, so the people who have fear of saying no to things, it's because they don't want to either miss out, they have FOMO, right?
Yeah.
Or they just don't want to be mean. But you got to realize that every time you say no, you're allowing more room for your yeses.
Yep.
And so Tom Bellew, who I like to read Impact Theory or listen to.
Oh, I love that guy.
He said he had a year of no and then followed it up with a year of yes. Right? So he got to say no to all these things, but then he had all this room, so he had to all right, what am I going to start saying yes to? a big one for us, I know you and Sam, who Sam's our family assistant and like
Yeah.
our family angel, really. Um, Ashley and her hold weekly family meetings, and so they look forward for the week, but they also look back and go like, okay, like what do we want to change? How do we do this better? How do we capitalize on this, right?
Yeah, different projects that are happening in the family, different events that are going on. What are we getting prepared for? Like right now, like we've been the month of May, we've been really focused on nutrition and just diving deep into just really getting back to just eating well, focusing on preparing meals, wonderfully, and so yeah, just a lot of planning, a lot of forecasting happening, but family meetings, just like it really. Listen, if you don't have a goal, like where are you going?
Yeah.
Right. So.
What was that? You
huge.
miss 100% of the targets that you don't have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The next three, I think, are big ones that you do very well, and I think we've been more intentional about this as a family, and I think the kids love it. Is number one, unplugging from our technology and finding adventure, like trying to do sporadic things. The other day, ironically, we had to use our technology to figure out what was going on, but we actually just sporadically went to the circus.
Oh, the Cirque du Soleil. It was so wonderful. It was fantastic.
It was because Hudson had been watching the movie,
The Greatest Showman. Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to take kids to a circus. So we immediately, sporadically, I remember that one time we went to a Reds game because some guy just gave us tickets in the middle of Whole Foods.
In the middle of Whole Foods, yeah.
But what allowed us to be able to go was we didn't have 9 million things on our schedule.
Exactly, yeah.
So unplugging.
And those finding an adventure. Hey, listen, there's a mom that lives like a neighborhood over from me, and she has 4 boys, and she's literally incredible, and she's the best at finding adventure,
Kathy.
And she knows all the Kathy, she knows all the parks, she knows all the cool things to do, and I literally just like pick her brain or follow her sometimes.
Honestly, plug her group because it's neat.
Oh yeah, she has
Pendulum
Kids.
Pendulum Kids.
Yep.
Check her out on Facebook, Pendulum Kids.
Yep.
Some of it's local here to Cincinnati, but even if so, like it'll just give you great ideas. Check out Pendulum Kids. Search out on Facebook when you're done unplugging after your 30-day Facebook fast.
Exactly.
Family game nights. You're big on this?
Oh, I love board games. They're sacred to us. My kids don't pull out board games and just play them on their own. Like they know that we all sit down together. Yeah. We all play board games.
I hate board games, but I do. I really am not a game person, but we do them together.
So you're good at this one, the family exercise.
Yeah, I prefer to exercise together.
Yeah,
I know you do too, but for me, it's more about just like I want to keep it fun.
Absolutely.
And so like when I exercise with Hudson, it's just fun to watch him do it, and it's creating memories. And I think the biggest thing is like the Bible says, train up your child in the way they should walk, and when they're old, they won't depart from it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest thing is like there are going to be times where they don't exercise, but if we show them the example.
Yeah.
Another thing we've done recently is really evaluate this whole thing. When we talk about technology, it's not just the addiction to it, like the dopamine hits we get and like how our brain gets addicted to it, but also literally the toxicity that's happening. So I have a story with this as it comes to radiation, but we've worked hard at trying to eliminate all this. One of the things we're going to be doing next is like just simple things like shutting off our Wi-Fi signals at night on phones, but also like your actual Wi-Fi router, just shutting it off at night.
Yep.
Powering down certain devices in your house. So like someone told me, make sure all your computers and all your TVs are hooked up to power strips, and then just go around and click the off switch on the power strips, because TVs even are actually drawing a lot of electricity through the outlet when they're plugged in. But if they're plugged into a power strip, you shut off the power strip, you shut off the connection to the power source. So that's kind of neat.
That's interesting. So
my story was I used to keep my cell phone in my back pocket for probably the greater part of a decade, or maybe even more, because I had a phone since I was like 15 years old. I was like the first kid I knew with a cell phone. And I've had this cell phone in my pocket now for, let's call it 15 years maybe. But I actually my skin started looking weird. And then it actually started turning gray on my leg near my pocket. And I'm like, that's kind of strange. And when I say gray, it was like light gray. But then it got to like weird gray. Like it didn't look like my skin was alive. It
didn't look good.
No. And as embarrassing as this is, then I started getting little like sores. And next thing you know, they started actually like becoming more like bleeding, like festering a little bit. They looked like blisters. And I remember taking a picture of it and looking at it. And the first thing I thought as I looked at it, I'm like, oh my gosh. That looks like every cancer patient I have that's gone through radiation therapy. This is a radiation burn. And immediately I knew what it was. And it was the fact that I've been carrying my cell phone in my pocket. So I've exclusively like taken my cell phone out of my pocket all the time. When I'm at work, I keep it somewhere else, all this. Even when we're out, like it's always either on the table or in my
Yeah.
car. I got
Yeah.
a mount for my car. I've done things to get it out. But the crazy thing is, I put it back in my pocket one day. I remember for 4 hours, and that radiation burn thing was back within like a day.
It's crazy.
And so this is real stuff. I mean, that probably was a cancerous process,
Yep. It absolutely was.
and it was just a matter of stopping it before it got bad. So for us with EMF radiation, our kids have been using a Q-Link, like they wear a Q-Link. The verdict's out on these. We don't know if all this technology is perfect. We're not here to talk to you about every product used for EMF radiation, but we are here just to say, like, consider it.
Consider
It's
it.
weakening the biofield of the body. It's
Right.
decreasing our energy. There's a reason why people are fatigued and, have no energy, and they're drained by the end of the day. They're sitting under magnetic ballast, fluorescent lights,
Right.
and look into or do some research. Read about smart meters on your house. That's all I'm going to say. Just go do the reading, and you'll start questioning some things. So that's one, EMF radiation, and specifically what it's doing to our brains.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to, how do we minimize toxins? One of the big things is we have to just really start taking hold of what we're putting, number one, in our bodies, and number two, on our bodies, and then what's in the air that we're breathing in, and just the environments we're exposed to. So I think the biggest one's like water. So
Yeah.
our bodies are 70% water, right? The earth is roughly 70% water. And so the biggest one, I think, is water. And so we got to look at, like, medications are a huge one. Water is a huge one. Household products, cookware, heavy metals, and then our food. And so let's go through these one at a time. Let's start with medications. Medication literally is the number one cause of toxicity, period. And especially in the U.S. And we can say that because if you're in the U.S., we are 7% of the world's population, yet we consume roughly 80% of the world's medication.
Whew.
Yeah, so we actually take more medication than all the other countries in the world combined.
It's incredible.
And that should be getting us healthier, but when the World Health Organization ranked the top 37 countries in the world in terms of industrialized countries by health, they've done it for the last decade. Every single year we've ranked last.
That's
So
crazy.
swallowing more medication not only doesn't make you healthy, but it actually makes you the least healthy. And then out of that list, what's crazy is we spend more than all the other countries on that list combined for health. So not only is the medication killing us, but it's literally bankrupting us. So how do we treat the side effects of medication? That's the other thing, is like people take medication, they end up with side effects. In school, I didn't learn about cause and side effect, right? I learned about cause and effect. So you take a medication, and one of the direct effects is it starts creating other damage. And then so what do the doctors do for the other damage?
More medication.
Yeah, absolutely. More medication. And so, like, you see how, like, this keeps going down the rabbit hole. So the only pill we want you taking is, what is it, the blue pill or the red pill? The one that, like, wakes you up and helps you go further down in the rabbit hole to figure out what you need. So toxins. How about the toxins in our home? This is something that you've worked on hard with Deb, who helps clean your house.
Yeah. The cleaning in the house is huge. So DEA is found in over 600 home and personal care products, such as soaps, lotions, cosmetics, bubble baths, laundry, dishwashing detergents. DEA was found to produce cancer in animal studies, and that's the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services National Toxicity Program that's giving us that information. So you wouldn't want to brush your teeth with antifreeze, right? So, like,
no,
we really need...
I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't. So we're really, like, we're literally taking every single thing in our house, and we're picking it up and we're looking at it and we're saying, like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, propylene glycol.
Propylene glycol.
An ingredient in antifreeze found in what?
Yep, found in vaccines, cosmetics, toothpaste, shampoos, deodorants, lotions, processed foods even.
Well, you know what'll help you fight off that flu? Let's inject some propylene glycol into you. That'll help you fight
It doesn't make sense. Like, it literally doesn't make any sense. So,
you want whiter teeth? How about some antifreeze? You know, and we're not concerned about our teeth freezing off. Not to make a joke out of it, but it's just
seriously.
so stupid.
No, it doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense.
But that stuff's in there for a reason. Why do they put it in there? They put it in there as, like, preservatives and flavor enhancers and, like, whatever the hell, like, to make your teeth feel tingly.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Like, literally, they put stuff in there to make your teeth feel tingly.
Because it gives you the perception that they're clean.
Yeah, right? But, I mean, you were a marketing background.
No, absolutely. All marketing is making you, creating a problem and then solving it for you.
Lifestyle marketing right here.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not, like it's literally been found to cause kidney and liver damage. abnormal skin cell growth and damaged cell membranes, which that is cancer. So, and it damages your immune system and your nervous system.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
xenoestrogen, and we'll talk a little bit about xenoestrogens, but essentially what it does is it mimics estrogen in the
right.
body. And so it starts turning on estrogen sensitive, cells and receptors. We're going to break down that more. Another one of the big ones, we heard a big one, the degreaser SLS, right? So there was that study out of the Journal of American Toxicology, talking about what the damage was. Remember what that was? It was
Yeah, it was that SLS causes heart, liver, lung, and brain damage.
That's crazy.
Right, so it's a degreaser, and it's pretty much found in every soap, shampoo, toothpaste that's on the market today.
I mean, in fact, all the products, it's funny, all the new products, what do they all say? SLS free.
SLS free, exactly. So, I mean,
as opposed to like, wait a minute, what was going on for the last 20 years?
yeah. When was it? Yeah, exactly. So we literally took our cleaning products and said, like, threw them all out, made our own at home, which literally for me for a long time I was not doing that. I was just trying to buy clean, home care products.
Yeah.
But then finally I just was like, enough of this. Like, forget this. Like, we can make these, cleaning recipes at home. Essential oils, vinegars, different things.
Well, the
like
funny
that.
thing is the things that we use now in our home are actually the same things we're using also on our bodies, right?
Yep.
So they say the average woman uses, and men probably slightly less, but the average woman uses 12 personal care products on their body daily.
That's incredible.
Right? And those 12 personal care products, they're exposed to roughly 160 to 170 different chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Like perfumes, for example, have 250 to 400 chemical components. So like when we use essential oils, it's an oil from one plant or maybe a mixture of oils from 3 or 4 plants.
Right.
But you're exposed to 250 to 400 chemicals just in perfume. And most of those, the vast majority of them, are synthetic chemicals that never existed before, ever in history.
Right.
They're not God. God didn't make a man altered the design and disrupted something normal and made it abnormal. I mean, look at lipstick, for instance. How many chemicals in lipstick?
Oh, gross. 33 different components to it.
And like you're kissing someone with that, and you're eating food, and it's like you're willingly putting 33 different crappy chemicals on your lips. I mean, this is a big pet peeve of mine. You remember that? Like, I hated anytime that we kiss. I did not like stuff on your lips.
No, yeah, I know. You've always hated lipstick since the day I met you. Yeah, no, it's huge. Lotion has 32 different chemicals in it. Mascara. Okay, think about this. Like, that's something listen, it took me probably, of all of our lifestyle changes, it probably took me the longest to get to, like, where I was changing out my makeup because I was like, listen.
That was literally just in the last year or two.
Right. Just in the last year or two, I finally was like, okay, I need to make this switch. I need to have clean makeup on my skin. But like, obviously, like, you want something that you're used to a certain, like, look with your makeup, and you want, whatever coverage or whatever, consistency or whatever, you want the same thing. And so, it definitely takes a little bit of trial and error finding that. But man, your eyes, like, if anything, you got to change that eye stuff first, because that mascara, that eyeliner, all that stuff is like literally right next to your eyeball.
Right next to your brain, really.
Oh, right into your brain. I mean, it's literally like a pathway. Like,
and your eyes are essentially like nothing but a bunch of blood vessels, right?
Exactly.
And vitreous fluid. Well, real quickly, in terms of resources, now obviously we're not like promoting these companies. We have no ties to them per se or whatever, but and we don't know what they'll do in the future, so full disclosure.
For sure, yeah.
Right
absolutely.
now, what are some of the brands you're using?
Yeah, so I love a company called 100% Pure, and it's literally, I mean, like, the mascara that I use and the eyeliner that I have, it's literally like black tea and like, blackberry, and it's literally like fruit-based pigments that they're like
100% pure.
It's called 100% Pure.
Is there you got any others?
Really fantastic. Yeah, I love Vapor Beauty. They have a really nice, it's hard to find a liquid foundation, and I just prefer a liquid foundation. It's really hard to find that in clean products, and so I found that through Vapor Beauty. Yeah, I know that there's a few more that I'm just not thinking of.
Your skin does look great, by the way. It does. But here's the thing. Here's why it's important. Remember, so one of our favorite brands locally, and you can get this online, is Grace Green Beauty, Temple Hit. She's the chief honest stuff maker over there at Grace Green Beauty. But literally, this stuff is so clean you could eat it. It's literally all food-based, holistic skincare. I love that term, holistic skincare. But here's why it's important. Remember, Temple did a great job of teaching this. I never even thought about teaching like this, but your skin's your largest organ in your body. So it's your largest organ, period. And then if you think about the way like a birth control patch works, people will put a patch on their skin. The chemicals in the patch will go transdermal into their bloodstream. And then the chemicals that are in the birth control patch literally are designed to shut down their reproductive organs, right?
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so what about the 250 ingredients in your perfume that you sprayed on your skin?
Ugh.
What's happening to those?
Yeah.
Same thing, right? They're going transdermal and they're starting to wreak havoc and create damage in your body. And then you're putting lipstick on, there's 33 chemicals making their way through your lips, transdermal, getting into your body, shutting down stuff. So now people say, oh, I have fibromyalgia or I have an autoimmune disorder. Bull. No, you don't. You have toxicity.
Yep.
Right? And there are other things, don't get me wrong, chiropractic and nutrition, they're important.
Yep.
But like you don't have an autoimmune disorder. You have a toxic lifestyle.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
So we got to get real about it. Like we're really good in this country about naming all the symptoms of something and then calling it a condition and never actually naming the cause.
Yep. Or making a change, or make a personal change.
Yeah.
in our lives.
This one I think everyone actually is knowing about better.
Yeah, no, I think pots and pans are like, and it's funny because I very rarely anymore see like Teflon pans around. I think people are very...
Yeah, the non-stick switching over to ceramic and maybe silicone, which I'm still a little bit weary of. But honestly, I think the best thing, we love our cast iron.
Yep.
Like we're old school.
Old school.
Like we're so old school. It's new school.
We're so
going back to pots and pans. But I will warn you, like learn how to use them. Learn
Yeah.
how to season the cast iron pans because
Yep.
they actually work really well when you take care of them properly. You don't actually want to clean them all the time.
Yeah.
Because the grease is actually kind of what seals them and
Right.
keeps them non-stick. Oh, water, man. I have a buddy named Tomas in the area. Tomas is our water expert in the area, and he's amazing. We have another guy in Michigan, Tom Lee. But these guys, if you listen to them long enough, they'll scare the crap out of you.
Yep.
They scared me right into a whole house filtration system, and I'm glad they did because honestly, I mean, whether you tell someone about it and you care about them or whether you just scare them straight right into it, whether it's a scare tactic or a care tactic, as long as you're moving in the right direction, I'm happy for it. Here's the thing. I found out that, first of all, the water, like consuming and drinking, it's one thing, but we only consume and drink, like, what are you drinking? Maybe like a gallon of water a day,
Sure.
or whatever, half your body weight in ounces is
Sure.
ideal. Most people aren't doing it, but that's the goal. Well, here's the thing. You're exposed to roughly 25 gallons of water in a shower, right? And so say roughly 25% of all the chemicals that touch your skin are absorbed, which is about accurate, especially when it's hot water. You're absorbing roughly 5 to 7 gallons of chemicals through your skin, 5 to 7 gallons worth of water, with chemicals and stuff through your skin that you're being like subject to. The other thing is you're actually breathing it in. So when you're in a hot shower, how many guys I like putting eucalyptus oil in the shower because it like opens my lungs and the hot water actually, like I can feel myself breathing it in. I just love that. But what I didn't realize when I'm in there, that chlorine at the temperature, I can't remember, I think it's roughly like close to 100 degrees. That chlorine breaks down and turns into chloroform and trihalomethane. And both of those are known to cause cancer. And this is another thing, researching this, I found out that they're actually also known to oxidize cholesterol in our bloodstream, which means they're going to plaque your arteries. Breathing in hot shower water can cause atherosclerosis and heart disease. Again, another example of you to go to your doctor, oh, you have atherosclerosis. Here's Crestor or Lipitor. No, you just need a whole house filter in your shower. Like nobody's telling you that. Right? Fluoride in the water is thought to prevent tooth decay, but the World Health Organization disproved this claim in numerous health studies. Not only did they disprove it, but countries like Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Norway, Sweden, like all of Europe got rid of fluoride. Guess who else they also got rid of,
Oh.
Monsanto.
It starts with an M.
Yeah, they got rid of Monsanto right before Bayer bought Monsanto. So a German company buys a chemical company in the U.S., but they won't allow them into Germany. Think about that. The U.S. EPA reports that cancer risks for people who drink chlorinated water are 93% higher than people who don't. So, like, literally, Ashley's drinking water right now as I'm talking, and we have reverse osmosis on our house. And some people will tell you, like, reverse osmosis demineralizes your water. It's true. So what do we add back into our water?
Yep. Trace minerals.
Trace minerals, and maybe pink Himalayan salt if you don't have trace minerals. So that's that slide. We expose ourselves to 25 gallons of water when we shower. What does that mean for you? Get a $45 inline shower filter, bare minimum right now. If you were part of the challenge, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You'll get points at the end of the challenge if you've already installed an inline water filter by the end of the challenge.
That's awesome.
And so 30 to 45 bucks on Amazon. Get something that's going to filter out all the chlorine, and then try to get reverse osmosis water filtration in your house. There are other things on there like Kangen water, ionized water, high ORP water for drinking. Those are next level conversations if you start doing research. So next, it's estimated that 50 to 100 common indoor mold types have the potential to create health problems. So why do we say this? It's not, there's not really a solution per se that we're going to recommend. We have a HEPA filter on our HVAC system.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a UV light filter on our HVAC system, thanks to our buddy Josh Hauser.
Yep.
But the big thing is knowing that anytime you're doing indoor remodeling or work or anything like that, taking proper precautions with construction, wearing masks, opening up the windows, running that fan on your HVAC system, we really need to take that in consideration. And so we have a friend actually who he was working at his house, got mold toxicity, and had to spend almost 2 years. He thought he was going to lose his life.
Yep.
And spent 2 years fighting it. Pretty crazy. A lot of toxicity, though, just like mold behind walls, some of it in our bodies is out of sight, out of mind. So one of the relationships that we built in our neck of the woods is with Dr. Mindy Munowitz, who is a dentist who does a lot of work holistically, like removing amalgams and stuff like that. Metals, heavy metals in our mouth, which are, again, mouth close to the brain, blood supply is very similar, actually shares same cranial nerves, right, with your brain and your eyes. And so when you are putting a neurotoxin in your mouth, it can actually create a lot of brain and cranial nerve toxicity. Mercury in amalgam fillings is like horribly dangerous. If you don't understand this, then go on and type in mercury fillings and or amalgam fillings and mercury into YouTube, and there's a video on there that'll actually show the off-gassing on video fluoroscopy. And there's also another video that you can watch that shows the denaturing of a brain tissue cell in the presence of just a touch of mercury. I show those two videos, and then the dentist is busy for the next few days after I show those in talks.
Absolutely.
What are other sources of mercury? We find it in other areas.
Yeah, so high fructose corn syrup. This is I used to write for an online publication back in 2010, 2011, and I wrote a very aggressive article on high fructose corn syrup, just really talking about exactly what it is, exactly what it does in your body, and literally within a day of it being published.
Oh, you had a lobbyist, right?
Yes, within a day of it being published. I mean, they literally, high fructose corn syrup literally have they literally have lobbyists and like people like crawling the internet searching for anyone saying bad things about high fructose corn syrup, and they like will actually like come at you and say like, you take this down, you can't talk about it, like that's not true. And it's 100% true. And like the information,
it's kind of like the commercial. Haven't you heard about high fructose corn syrup? Oh, what do you mean? The fact that it's made 100% from corn and that it's safe and blah,
exactly.
Blah. So that ad got paid for. Actually, it said it was paid for by the Corn Growers of America,
right.
And it was actually paid for by the U.S. federal government on behalf of them.
Right.
Because what happened was when the vaccines started getting exposed and all the mercury in vaccines, the government wanted to point the finger somewhere else.
Yep.
So they released a study of 55 known foods to contain mercury.
Right.
And the mercury was through the high fructose corn syrup. So guess who got mad? The corn growers got ticked because now they got pointed at, the finger pointed at them. So what the government then did was pay for a campaign to talk about how safe.
Like a marketing campaign to talk about how safe.
So, hey, we're going to distract you from the fact that we're poisoning children with vaccines. So we're going to point the finger at high fructose corn syrup, but then, oh, now we ticked off people who give us money on behalf of lobbying. So now we're going to pay for an ad campaign to then tell you that the thing we just told you is that was toxic is actually safe in the first place.
Yeah, it's
It's so
very
convoluted.
convoluted. That was exactly the word that I was going to say. It's so convoluted. But anyway, high fructose corn syrup is bad.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Mercury, aluminum, we said vaccinations, we're not going to hammer it. This isn't a vaccine talk, but drugs, household chemicals, paint, toys, paint on toys, dishes coated with lead. We really just, heavy metals are a big, big issue.
Heavy metals are a big issue. And, there's a lot.
Not even like the ones that we think, like not just lead, but like cadmium, arsenic.
Right. There's,
think about.
It's huge issues. And, there's a lot of studies now that will show that even that, Dr. William Walsh is doing studies that are showing that copper is actually, copper toxicity is a leading cause of postpartum depression. So, there's a lot of big topics.
And copper itself isn't necessarily bad in small levels in your body. You need it.
Yep. Exactly.
But overabundance of it through exposure, huh?
Exactly.
All right, so talk about xenoestrogens. What are they? I know you study this a lot.
Yeah, so xenoestrogens are their category of endocrine disrupting compounds, and these are industrially made chemical compounds, and they disrupt communication inside the bodies and the endocrine and hormone producing organs. So these
phthalates or whatever they are.
Yeah, yep. They're plasticizers. They leach from plastic products, and they have an estrogen mimicking effect in the body. So soy also has an estrogen mimicking effect in the body, and any home product that contains a paraben, SLS, which we already talked about.
Again.
Yep, we already talked about it. That propylene glycol, we've already talked about that. And foods like coffee, canola, commercially raised beef and chicken, pesticides and herbicides. And experts estimate that the average American ingests over 100 pounds of pesticides.
And this isn't your organic coffees. This is like your flavored coffees.
Right.
This is your bleached coffee filters.
Yep. This is plastic water bottles. Like get rid of the plastic water bottles.
Yep.
Or
so xenoestrogens, to simplify this, any organ that's estrogen sensitive. So what is that? That's breast, ovaries, uterus, right? Yep. It's also certain types of body fat.
Yep.
For men, it's their prostate.
Yep.
So what it's doing is it's turning on estrogen sensitive cells. So what happens in women? Overabundance of estrogen, fertility-related issues, perimenopause, way early. Menopause is horrible, tons of hot flashes. Like if you have hot flashes that are uncontrollable, then you need to detox. You have a lot of xenoestrogens probably flowing through your body. Men, if you have a swollen prostate, you have a big prostate, your big manly prostates try to overcompensate for the fact that you're being exposed to all these fake estrogens. And again, a big source, and we talk about cleaning products stuff, but also like all the stuff we're putting on our skin.
Yep.
That's why we use essential oils exclusively and not perfume, because of all the estrogen effects. So 3 million tons of pesticides used each year worldwide. This is crazy. I was reading it, and I got to find in here, it might be on the next slide coming up, but just the amount of pesticides that we consume, how many pounds per person, it's so insane. When I read it, it was in the hundreds of pounds per person annually of pesticides we consume, right? Like if I said you consumed 100 pounds of sugar a year, you'd be like, oh my God, that's gross. 100 pounds of pesticides, like stuff that's designed to kill bugs, right? And then so they made glyphosate illegal to spray on certain plants or whatever. So what did they do? They took that chemical and they genetically modified it into the seed, so they don't even have to spray it. It's actually in the seed.
That's it's crazy.
We get to GMO, so this is another one. This ticks me off just as much. A GMO is we're not talking about, sometimes people think we're talking about hybridization. We're not talking about hybridization. We're not talking about mixing one plant with another. That's not it. We're not talking about taking a grape and an apple and coming up with a grapple, right? That's not it. What we're talking about is literally like not cross-pollination, not breeding. We're not talking about like dogs, breeding dogs here and coming up with designer breeds. What we're talking, even we know that creates issues, right?
It does create it. Even though we have a golden doodle, it does create issues.
Yeah, but he's unique. Because they actually exhibit breeding vigor. They're the only the only designer dog that actually lives longer than the two it's bred from. So he's a genetic freak, but in a good way. But what we're talking about is literally changing the structure of the DNA.
Right.
So taking something and altering its DNA and making it a new organism that has never existed before. And so you've been studying all the genetic issues, and I would venture to say that in this decade, not only is it probably the major cause of genetic mutations, but it will become the major cause of genetic mutations in the next decade will be GMOs.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's such a issue. And here's the crazy thing: is that you're probably eating 30,000 GMOs per day.
That's incredible when you think about it. But I mean, it's not when you think that one product like Lunchables. So if you give your kids Lunchables, don't stop right like today. Stop now. Like if you have them in your fridge, throw them out. Don't even give them to them because if you look at the ingredients on Lunchables, like I think last time I checked, it was close to 100 ingredients, and what probably 80% of them are GMO.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you think 30,000 a day? That's crazy. Well, that's one snack food that your kid's eating that probably has 80 different GMO chemicals in it.
And there's 50 different countries that have already restricted GMOs, and the U.S. doesn't even require a label.
No. In fact, the non-GMO companies have come up with a label that says non-GMO because the government won't even frickin' step in and label them GMO. And when they tried to label non-GMOs, the government tried to step in and stop it from happening.
It's crazy.
So glyphosate, most used industrial agricultural chemical ever. The big thing is to understand here, it destroys the gut. It destroys thyroid stimulating hormones, so all the thyroid issues we see. Moms with hypothyroidism have a fourfold increased risk to autism in their fetus. So glyphosate, we talk about vaccines, but there might be another evil out there that's really creating a lot of it as well at the same time, and they're both coming on the scene. But guess what? They're both owned by the same companies too.
Exactly.
Right? Same companies creating them, chemical companies.
So this also impairs your methylation pathways. And the interesting thing about that is that like you can be born. So like personally, like I was born with an MTHFR mutated gene. Now you can be born like that, but here's the crazy thing: you don't have to be born with a mutated gene. You can be born with a perfectly
mutated gene.
An immutated gene, a normal functioning gene,
and mutate it
through
holy crap
through lifestyle and through what you're doing. So glyphosate is one of those things, like that exposure to that,
and then you're going to pass on a mutated gene,
and then you're going to pass on a mutated. So literally, like you can change your genes, and it can be for the worse. And so you can impair that methylation pathway, and then you will like in turn, the glutathione deficiency. So glutathione is one of the things that is necessary in your body in order to detoxify. You're going to use it 2 times over in the actual sequence that your body walks through to detoxify anything out of your body. And so it's a heavily used piece, and glyphosate is going to give you deficiency in that. And so it's just really going to disrupt everything.
Yeah. I think it's important to note, too, that if you do have a mutated gene, you're going to pass that on for at least 3 or 4 generations. And so will your kids, and so will your kids, and so will your kids. And it'll be perpetuated until someone takes authority over it.
Right.
And does the stuff to shut the gene off, right?
Right.
So the Bible talks about the sins of a father and mother are passed on to 3rd and 4th generation. And then Dr. Bruce Lipton's book about the biology of belief talks about how genetic mutations are passed on 3 and 4 generations, and they saw that in mice. It's pretty crazy. So look at this. Where's it coming from? Well, look at 1996. Less than 10% of our products were genetically mutated, right? And now in 2012 is when this was. This isn't even 2018, but in 2012, over 90% of our products were GMO.
Oh, that's bad.
So people were like, well, I used to eat that when I was a kid. No, you didn't.
No,
you didn't. Like Kraft macaroni and cheese. No, it wasn't the same when you were a kid.
No.
Ketchup, Heinz ketchup, wasn't the same when you were a kid.
No.
So no longer is the like, well, I turned out okay. Yeah, maybe like you might have, but your kids aren't going to because it's not the same product anymore. Remember we had those 2 patients that were over from Britain.
Yes.
And they each gained like 20 or 30 pounds when they first moved over here. Yep. And they said, we're eating literally the same stuff, but it has tons more ingredients in it.
Yep.
All
they
GMO.
said they're literally eating the same things.
So the World Health Organization declared glyphosate to be a probable carcinogen. How about that? Probable. Like literally every single study on the face of the planet has said it causes cancer, and they're like, it might. So here's the pathways you're talking about. So here you have toxins on the left side of the screen, and then they have to go through basically 2 steps in order to get out of the body. And those 2 steps happen in the cells, right? So they happen in the cells before they happen in the organs. So step 1 in the cells requires B vitamins, folate, glutathione, antioxidants, milk thistle, carotenoids, and vitamin E and C. And then the second, those are the required nutrients to help detoxify, to change things in the cell. And then to get them out of the cell, it requires glutamine, glycine, taurine, cysteine, sulfurated phytochemicals. And then where are those found? They're found in foods like
Garlic, coniferous vegetables.
yeah, all of the cruciferous ones. And then
Yeah.
the organs of detoxification mainly are pooping, peeing, and sweating.
There you go.
Right? So gallbladder through the liver, through bile, and then bowel actions. And then the kidney developing urea and then it turning into urine and urinating out. And then sweat, and we need minerals, electrolytes, and then we sweat. If you don't have the electrolytes, you don't sweat. If you aren't able to produce the urea with the right electrolytes, the right things, you don't pee properly. And then through our digestive system, we can't create the bile, which requires a lot of those different things we just mentioned. We can't get out. And then before that, you can't even get it out of the cells. So what do? First is recognizing that we're toxic. Question is, are you toxic? And the answer simply is yes, you are. Everyone is.
Yeah.
In the United States, if you're a human being breathing, you're toxic.
Right.
Because of everything that's going on. So we have this checklist of do you do this, do you do that, do you eat inorganic meats, do you use Teflon, whatever. But some people can go through these and they're like, I don't do that, I don't do that, I don't do that, I don't do that, and then they still have fibromyalgia and whatever. Were you born? Then you're toxic. Period. Were you born? Because what was that study? It said they have found how many chemicals?
Oh, yeah.
All those chemicals in the bloodstream of a fetus. So
yeah.
All right. So I'm going to take this one for a second. Just talk about chiropractic here. So where does it fit in? Well, number one, a huge source of stress we said was emotional and chemical stress that's affecting our brain. So emotional stress as interference can be measured in terms of hormonal shifts in our body. Are like fight or flight. And we're not talking about hormones like male, female hormones. We're talking about cortisol and stress hormones. So researchers are learning about this and the effects, and they're saying that literally that they can measure quantifiable effects of this in our bodies. While chiropractic's often one's first step towards removing interference, it's not necessarily the last, but we want to talk about why it should be the first. This should be the first step. Why? Because our brain regulates every single function in our body, and it does so through our nervous system. Why should every single man, woman, and child get adjusted? Because they have a nervous system. Our kids have, so this is a point, I'm going to post this on Facebook tomorrow, I was saving it, but if your kids have been to the dentist more than they've been to the chiropractor, they have a problem.
That's a problem. Yep.
If your kids have been to a pediatrician more than they've been to a chiropractor,
absolutely,
there's a major problem there. Major problem, because they have a nervous system, and how are they going to keep their nervous system healthy by chance? Just simply looking down at their iPad for an hour a day will destroy their entire shape of their neck curvature. And so that curve that should be in their neck, that's literally called the arc of life, where nerve flow goes through that neck to get to all the organs of the body. By looking down at an iPad a couple hours a day, they'll have a neck curve like that that's literally bent in the wrong direction, and it will restrict the flow of nerve signals through the neck by literally 50 to 60%, right? ADD, ADHD, asthma, allergies, ear infections, headaches, depression, anxiety, sleep issues in kids, nerve system. We adjust infants. We have this one mom of twins. We adjusted her kids, and for the first time ever, they slept more than 30 minutes at a time throughout the night. They actually slept for 8 hours both. They had to check on them to make sure they were still breathing. Yeah. That's how long they slept. Yeah. And then that mom has referred in tons of other moms, because guess what? All these kids have sleep issues.
Yep. And
they chalk it up. Moms and dads chalk it up to it's the no sleep years. Bullcrap. How did our kids sleep?
Yeah, our kids have always slept. From the time they were between 6 and 8 weeks, they started sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night every night.
Yeah, it's incredible. And
it's incredible.
Yeah. Chiropractic kids just sleep and poop really well.
Really well. Yep.
And then they're healthy on top of that.
The body functions.
Yep. Yeah. If you're not sleeping or pooping, that's an issue.
It's an issue.
It doesn't matter what your age is. We have amazing case studies all throughout Maximize Living. We have 300 offices all over the globe. I really encourage you to go on maximizeliving.com or go to alignhealthcenter.com and look at find a doctor. In this case study with Cynthia, she said it was the best she's ever felt, the happiest she's ever been. Like, she talks about how she lacked motivation in school. She was prescribed multiple psychotropic drugs. She had trouble concentrating. She literally got to the point where she was diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. Her spine was stiff. She knew she had a bad spine, but had no idea that all the other stuff she was experiencing earlier on in her life could be as a result of that. So she went through the process. Didn't even just start with the chiropractic. She dove into all 5 essentials, got healthy, detoxified. She said she's never been healthier. And like, for people to get older and get healthier, and that's like our story. I remember dealing with we had 2 miscarriages, dealt with infertility, had headaches.
Oh, look at this one.
Yeah, who's this lady?
Here we go.
Had migraines.
Yep.
Was literally losing vision during the migraines. Had told that you had poor retinal attachment, so somebody convinced you that your retina sucked. And that you were going to be blind one day. I remember that was a kind of a fear for you, right? Because that you're going to go blind. And then anxiety, panic attacks. I put up there weight loss resistant without asking your permission. But I remember you saying that you thought you were going to be an 8 for the rest of your life, either a big 8 or a small 8, but you were going to be an 8 for the rest of your life. And then do you remember what size you were in before you had Hudson?
Oh my gosh, I was between a 2 and a 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then we were still we weren't even done. We were still dealing with a lot of stuff. Like, I remember your vision thing just a year ago, going and getting an eye exam, and through detoxing and using frankincense on your face and ingesting it, getting adjusted, getting your nervous system healthy. And then you go in and what do you tell you about your eyes?
Oh, my prescription had actually improved by 2 degrees.
Yeah, but what do you say about your retinas?
Oh, he said that they were incredible. He was like, these are the healthiest looking.
And what did someone else tell you about your retinas previously?
Oh, that they were like congenitally deformed and they were going to fall apart and I was going to go blind.
Yeah, you had genetically crappy retinas.
Yep.
And then come to find out, so you must have had a gene replacement, right?
I must have had a gene replacement.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Through fixing. So here's your x-rays. I put these up there. On the left is your straight neck with a little bit of curve up at the top. So you had like 24 degrees of curve. And then if you look on the right, you still have a really poor curve. It's 32 degrees. Your forward head posture from carrying all those kids is still there. But if you look at those 2 top lines, the red lines at the very top, they're more parallel in the right picture, the newer picture. And so even though, this is the beautiful thing, even though your neck doesn't look perfect,
right,
there are some things that have changed and gotten better and taken stress off those nerves. And so literally the neurology is thriving. And then the thing you can't see is your neck moves better. And in every adjustment, we're getting better movement. And it's just stimulating those nerve pathways really well. Now look down at your lower x-ray. You can literally see how you're straighter on the right side. The left side was years ago. You had greater than 10. I think it says 14 millimeter pelvic imbalance. Now we're in the single digits. The alignment, you can see where you're bending at L3 and at T12. Guess what? L3 goes to your bowels, which help detoxify. It also goes to your reproductive organs. Exactly. T12 goes to your adrenal glands and your kidneys. So, energy and detoxification. And now look, I mean, we're in better shape. And so it's just a constant. It's not any one thing. It's not just chiropractic.
And the thing that you can't see on those x-rays either is that the fact that from a life, a living my life perspective, in the before phase, it was literally 6 to 8 panic attacks a day. It was literally I was too overwhelmed to hardly even leave my house. It was just it was migraine headaches with auras all the time. It was just so many things have changed. It was multiple miscarriages, before that. And then afterwards, it's just a completely different story. So, it's just huge.
Some would say that, that your life was saved by marrying a chiropractor.
Oh, God bless you.
You could have married an accountant.
I could have married an accountant. I know.
That's not to say that anybody out there who's married to an accountant can't get healthy too. You just need to get under chiropractic
But listen,
care.
if I was married to an accountant, I hope to God that someone would have had the courage to teach me the principle of health and healing and how chiropractic and how moving bones and fixing your nervous system and letting God work through your body and heal you, could apply to your life.
I think some people think literally they think this is all we talk about to some degree because they hear about it all the time. Even our neighbors, they love us, but my one buddy said, I don't know if I could do your job because you're never you never get to be off work. But the thing is we're so passionate about it because we see this stuff change and we see it happen to people and we know that
And people have to know about it. I mean, I'm literally like, I'm in the parking lot of my kid's school, and I'm overhearing conversations about kids that can't poop, and I'm like literally breaking into the conversation, saying like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. Like, your kid can take normal bowel movements, and
Yeah.
here's what the truth is. And it's just like literally being able to consistently say that over and over and over everywhere you go.
Well, we talked about the problem. We're going to talk about some solutions, and I think we can make this pretty quick. The book, our nutrition book that we use in Maximize Living, the one that we want you guys using, go on to www.alignhealthcenter.com, click on the store, and make sure you purchase the book called Align Your Health. It is, I mean, I can't tell you, like, it is the most comprehensive nutrition and lifestyle book that you're going to read. Covers the chiropractic stuff, the detox stuff. So rather than sit here and teach tons of nutrition, I'm just going to tell you, go buy the book. We're going to go through a couple points. Number one, eat real food.
Eat real food.
Eat food that doesn't have a label. 75 to 80% of the food in the U.S. contains GMOs, the processed food. We spend $1.65 billion in fast food every year. Like, when you start adding this stuff up and then you wonder where cancer comes from, I mean, it's really a no-brainer. Oil change. So everyone needs to be eating healthier oils. So fat is good, but we have to change which fats we eat. First of all, acknowledging the fact that fat is good.
Right.
Like, healthy fats are one of the most important ingredients you can possibly put into your body next to vegetables.
Exactly.
And I'll even go as far to say you have to be eating lots of it.
Yep.
If you don't understand that, read a book called Mark Hyman wrote the foreword to the Maximize Living Nutrition Plan book, the Align Your Health book. Mark Hyman wrote that foreword. Mark Hyman's the author who wrote Eat Fat, Get Thin.
Right.
So when you read that Align Your Health book, it talks about why fat is so critical, but it's what feeds your brain. So what do we need to do? We need to move away from, write these down, move away from canola oil, vegetable oil, corn, cottonseed, soybean, peanut, poppy seed, and palm oil. A next direction is start using a little bit more maybe sesame, grapeseed, safflower, sunflower, but not too much of those. Really what you want to move towards, and the ones you want to be eating an abundance of, are extra virgin olive oil, walnut oil, hemp seed oil, extra virgin coconut oil, almond oil, avocado oil, and flax oil.
And that avocado oil is your highest heat index oil. And so if you're going to be cooking with an oil, it's that avocado oil, really.
Yeah. That term extra virgin denotes that it's the first press, that it's not being pressed more than once. We want to look for some cold pressed.
Mm-hmm.
Cold press means it's not as denatured. So you can find this on page 178 of the Maximize Living Nutrition Plan book called Align Your Health.
Yep.
And that Align Your Health book talks about why our nutrition plans are so rich in omega-3 fatty acids, because of them being very anti-inflammatory versus everything else. The too many omega-6s, too many omega-9s, in the ones we're currently eating, too many commercial animal fats, meaning they're raised, not pasture raised, but they're commodity raised. Too few monosaturated fats, too much synthetic fats. What it does is it promotes too much inflammation in the body. So inflammation, and then second, oxidation. Inflammation is promoted by these bad fats. The bad fats end up in your bloodstream, and then our sugar problem and our grain problem that we have, eating too much bread and too much sugar and too much pasta, that actually oxidizes all these bad fats in our bloodstream and clogs our arteries. The clogged arteries isn't because of the fat, it's because of the source of fat, and it's because of all of the sugar and the oxidation that happens from the acidity of the sugar. So healthy fats mean healthy cell membranes. So when Ashley's talking about getting things in and out of cells, and cells detoxing and exchanging nutrition with their cellular environments and getting toxicity out so it can be transported out of the body, that requires healthy cell membranes. So what are cell membranes made out of?
Fats.
Good fats.
Good fats.
And we got to have the good fats, because if we don't, we make them out of bad fats, what happens is it's literally like just coating that cell in layers and layers and layers of impermeable stuff. It would be like wrapping your cells in saran wrap, nothing can get in or out. I did an example on stage years ago with Hudson. I wrapped him in saran wrap on stage, and I was talking about every meal that we eat, that we feed our kids crap food. It was another layer of saran wrap, and I said, all right, now he needs to exchange oxygen with the environment. Now he needs to get food coming to him. Now he needs to go to the bathroom and defecate. And if he's wrapped in there, imagine him having to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
If he trapped in there, and that's what's happening to our cells. Like literally, the waste products of your cells are staying in the cells and not getting out, and then no nutrition can get in. Protein. How much protein is enough? Because we know that this is a problem that I used to have. A big problem was eating way too much protein. I would eat like 3 or 4 16-ounce ribeyes a week, and that protein, it actually leads to inflammation, oxidation, breaks down. Actually, too much of it will break down into sugar in our bodies. Will actually break down protein into sugar.
So it's the same results as a high carbohydrate diet.
Yeah, you can actually get protein fat too.
Yep.
You can actually create diabetes from too much protein.
It leads to inflammation, oxidation, aging, dysfunction, and disease.
Yeah. So, the major things in our diet, going to the next page, is number one, our nutrition. So this, I'm gonna be very vigilant about making sure I explain this, because when you look at this, there's circles up there, but these are not pie charts. So when your diet on the core plan, so in the Align Your Health book, the core plan is what everyone should do. The advanced plan is what everyone in a disease state should do. So if you're overweight, if you're obese, if you have diabetes, if you have anything like that, you should not follow the core plan. You should follow the advanced plan until you're no longer diseased or overweight, and then you should follow the core plan. But when it says fat, 55 to 65%, that does not mean 55 to 65% of the visible space on your plate is filled with fat. That means 55 to 65% of your caloric intake, which actually is probably only 10% of your plate.
Wow.
Right? Like an avocado, olive oil, like it doesn't take up a lot of your plate. Mm-hmm. Carbohydrates, where should they be coming from?
I mean, you could get carbohydrates from vegetables.
That's the only place they should really be coming from, maybe a little bit
Right.
of fruit. Right. So the carbohydrate, it does not mean it takes up 15 to 25% of your plate. It actually takes up about 70% of your plate.
Right.
But because it's so calorically not dense, it takes a lot of volume to make it calorically 15 to 25% of your diet. Does that make sense?
Oh, this is good. Yeah, this is good.
So what is 15 to 25% of your caloric intake of protein look like? It's not 20% of your plate. It's about 4 ounces to 6 ounces of protein, tops.
Got it.
Think about a 6 ounce. So a 6 ounce fillet is smaller than your fist. It's definitely smaller than my fist, but it's probably about the size of your fist.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
right?
Good.
So you get a little, that's a petite fillet. That's not a king fillet. That's not a, we're never saying that you don't get to, splurge, but I used to eat the 16-ounce ribeye, like I said, 3 times a week. And that was literally probably, 3 to 5 times the amount of protein I needed to be eating. And then what would happen is I wouldn't eat 80. So last night, you remember what my plate looked like?
Oh yeah, it was mostly.
It was a massive bowl filled with of 20 different kinds of lettuces, like pea shoots and all that.
Yep.
And then I had my fat on there because I had half an avocado.
Yep.
And my dressing had olive oil in it. And honestly, all of my protein last night came exclusively through the proteins that would have been found in those vegetables.
Right.
I didn't consume, because I tend to have the tendency to overdo it on the protein if I do anything. We did a chia seed pudding at our event the other night. That recipe is in the Maximize Living Nutrition Plan book called Align Your Health. So if you get Align Your Health, the chia seed pudding recipe is in there. An amazing morning snack. Chia seeds are packed with protein. They're plant-based. We use a grainless granola, maybe a little bit of Greek yogurt, some blueberries, some almond slices.
This was delicious.
Yeah, we brought some home. The kids liked it too.
It was wonderful.
Fitness. So Ashley and I used to own a CrossFit gym, and the biggest thing we can tell you is you need to try to stay active every single day. You're going for a walk in a little while, right?
I go for, if I haven't done it, a lot of times I'll do a workout in the morning. I have found, like, personally, like, just based on, like, my makeup as a human being, my genes, my, everything, like, it is best for me just to get up in the morning and do a workout. And, like, I just need to get it done in the morning. So
your body loves it, but
my body.
It's kind of like that R. Kelly song.
Oh no, where is this going?
My mind's telling me no, but my body. Because you don't like to get up and
No,
work
I
out in the
don't like
morning.
to get up in the morning. I don't like to work out in the morning. I like to work out. Like I used to work out all the time in like late afternoon or
Yeah.
like lunchtime, and that was always my favorite thing. And I'd like to like eat a big lunch and then
Yeah.
go work out just to make it through it. Because dude, I was so jacked up. Like I was so out of balance. I was so just like I needed to be able to fuel myself through that workout by like loading up with food or lunch or whatever. So I mean it's different. I have a very different lifestyle now. So it's important for me to wake up in the morning and go do a workout. But it's also and it's important for me not to overtrain. And so I mean my workouts can be 20 minutes long.
I think this is what we realized with CrossFit, right?
Yeah.
Like we loved it. Like
I
we're
still
not
love
we're
it.
not
I
hating on
still
it.
love
We're not
it.
hating
Yeah.
on it.
Yep.
But I think we also realized that when you busted your ass for an hour going crazy in CrossFit, it became hard to want to work out every day. So you end up working out. Man, there were some weeks that honestly, like when I worked out more than twice in that week and did multiple workouts in a CrossFit,
A very
environment.
intense, right.
So it became hard. So I like the old school CrossFit. I mean, remember when we started?
Yep.
Back in like 2010, 9, 10 area. It was like you might do Fran for like 7 minutes and then that was it.
Or I might have done Fran for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And the next day you might have bench pressed and then
that was it. Yep.
and squatted or something, and that was it. And then
Yep.
and I remember clients used to kind of complain, but they were missing the point that the idea was it was doing something every day. All this toxicity stuff. What's really amazing is the master planner, right? God, the designer, left a major route to unload a lifetime of damaging disease-producing chemicals, and he did it through sweat.
Yes.
And so we actually have patients who don't sweat. We've had people who don't sweat because either neurologically they're subluxated, or B, they're not detoxing well, and they need that glutathione, they need that folate, they need that support.
Yes.
So they exercise but don't sweat. It's really interesting. I remember Nancy, one of our favorite clients ever, used to tell us her primary objective was to not sweat when she worked out. But not sweating is actually the bad thing. And so how do we help people who don't sweat? Number one, they need to be getting adjusted. And number two, they need to take Detox System, the Maximize Living product. Again, if you go to our store on our website, it's amazing. The best resources and best supplements you'll ever see. The Detox System, everything that we talked about tonight. And one of the major things that Ashley's done is she researched all the things that needed to happen to detox and then found out that the product we already had available to us had 90% of them in it.
It had everything that we needed. Everything.
It's comprehensive.
Yep.
So how do we exexercise? What do we believe in? We believe in surge training.
Surge training,
right?
Yes.
You love doing this. Give me an example, like what we do. Like say when you go for a walk, how would you surge train your walk or run?
Right. So I mean, the other night last week we took a mile walk around the block, and we did sprints. We did mailbox sprints. So we sprinted from one mailbox to the next, and then we walked from that mailbox to the next mailbox. By the time we made it to that mailbox, we sprinted to the next mailbox.
So basically every other mailbox or something?
Every other mailbox, we had a sprint and then
if you can't sprint, then walk fast between two mailboxes and then slow between three. It might not have looked
like a sprint to
yeah.
It might
People
not
are like, you were sprinting?
I thought you were fast jogging.
I thought you were mall walking. Examples, so sprints, uphill walking, doing stairs. Like if you're in an office, go do the stairs. Like go up the stairs as fast as you can, and then go down them slower.
Yep.
Right? Or maybe go down them and then back up them and back down them slow, and then go up them fast again. Yep. And then running in place, we do that in our events, swimming laps, stationary bike, elliptical. You can actually do this with weights. Like you could do 10 clean and jerks for a time, right? And then take a break and do an easy row for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Or what you could do is do 30 seconds of kettlebell swings and 30 seconds of rest, right? Or Tabata,
Tabata, 20 on, 10 off.
So surge training is the best thing you could possibly do. Post smoothie workout. What's the best thing you consume post workout? A smoothie that's rich in things like spinach and blueberries that are rich in antioxidants, but not sugar. There's like very little sugar in berries. What do we like to use as a base? We like coconut milk. We like hemp milk, right?
I've been using a lot of water lately.
Really? You've been doing more water?
I've literally been adding water, and it's great.
Yeah, some people aren't there yet.
It's fine though. Yeah, coconut milk's
Whey
great.
protein. Yeah. Whey protein is actually really rich in glutathione when it's from grass-fed cows. So it helps you detoxify. So like literally, you're not just doing a shake, but you're doing a detox shake because of all the folate in the spinach and all the glutathione in the whey protein.
Literally. It's incredible.
And then the big thing is like no sugar. The Maximize Living brand of grass-fed whey protein has like almost no net carbs, and it has virtually no sugar at all. I think it's got 1 gram maybe.
So good.
you'll be hard pressed to find anything like that on the market anywhere. Remember that time we went into GNC, we tried to find one good product and we couldn't find one
Oh my
single
gosh,
good.
we could not
We couldn't find
one
one good protein product,
good protein
but we
product.
could find about 30 or 40 toxic ones, like not even mildly toxic. But so the analogy I love is, so if toxins keep getting poured into a pond, eventually the fish die, right? So it's the environment, not the fish. So we can talk about genetic mutations that we're blue in the face, but change your environment, change your genes.
Exactly.
Right? So if you have a fish in a bowl and you have, you dump a bunch of blue food coloring into it, right? The fish bowl is blue. So one way of detoxifying is you can keep pouring clean water in and eventually it'll turn back to being clear, right? But it'll take a long, long, long time. What's the other thing you can do? Dump out all the blue water and pour in clean, fresh water, right? So using our detox system is like emptying the fishbowl and replacing it. So you're going to change your lifestyle and change all the things that you're putting in your body, but the detox system is about emptying the fishbowl. You have 70 trillion fish bowls called cells.
Yep.
And so the detox system is about emptying the fishbowl. The problem is in our environment that nowadays detox system isn't just a 30-day thing. It's an ongoing thing. Like I take it every day.
Right, me too.
I've taken it every day for years.
Yep.
And I would say it's probably more important for me than my multivitamin.
Oh, without a doubt. The protein in the detox system, probably the vitamin D as well.
Yeah.
And for me the B multis.
for me I'd say, and it's different for everyone. So it's good that we talk about this, but I think the detox, the vitamin D and the omega-3 fatty acids for me.
Yeah, the omega-3 fatty acids are huge. I mean, they're really important. I'm on a lot more supplementation. You need
the folate and the minerals.
Yeah, I'm on a lot more supplementation just because it's necessary for my body to thrive. But yeah, I mean, toxicity. Dr. Clark talks about how toxicity is just like the slow drip buildup.
Hold the color.
Yep. Yeah. And she just talks about that, like that drip buildup, and then all of a sudden you get.
So I'm glad you said that because that's exactly what I was gonna. So I use the example of the blue.
Yeah.
Food coloring.
Yep.
And what I was going to say is if you never stop dripping the food coloring in,
yep,
then just simply pouring fresh water won't eventually turn it back clear because you keep adding the blue coloring. And that's really what our lifestyles are. It's a slow, constant, well, I don't even think it's slow. I think it's a constant bombardment. In fact, I think it's a intense bombardment right now. We're talking about 75 to 80% of all processed food, which means if you're eating out, we're talking about most of the food you're eating when you're eating out is highly toxic. And so like our detox system costs $75, which is twice what our multivitamin costs.
Yep.
But I think it's probably, for me, I would say it's 5 to 7 times more valuable to me than the multivitamin because I can get more nutrition by juicing. I can get more nutrition by eating more vegetables. I cannot get more detoxification.
No.
Like you can't do it.
No, you can't do it.
I can't sweat enough to do it. So the detox system is just so critical.
I know.
I mean, imagine how much you would spend to detoxify your body if you found out that you had cancer and you needed to get your body detoxed fast. I mean, if you went over to see Dr. Hilo in Spain, you'd spend $10,000 to $15,000 for a week.
Exactly. Yep.
So not spending $75 on a monthly basis. Like I know to some people that sounds like a lot of money, but the most cost-effective supplement you could ever take is something that's actually working and something that's getting you healthier. And so, I mean, there are people who are literally spending $100 to $200 monthly on medical bills and prescriptions.
Yep.
But to spend $70 on a supplement.
Oh no, I'd pay triple that for that detox product. I mean, it's just absolutely imperative.
All right, so the challenge again, if you want to join, check out alignhealthcenter.com. Send us an email at info@alignhealthcenter and join our Align Healthy Families Facebook group. Also check out Ashley on Wellness Living and the Wellness Living community group.
Yep.
You can also, can we say your website?
Oh, yeah. It's just it's wellnessliving.com.
Wellnessliving.com.
Yeah.
She's just getting that launched and up. And so the challenge, points-based, nutritionally focused, supplement supported, lifestyle-oriented, consistency is what's going to win in your lifestyle. And it's also what will win the challenge. And you'll win a bunch of products. The product package that we'll be giving away is shown there in front of you. You'll get your choice of protein, the detox system, the pro omega-3s. And the kids, that's one thing we didn't talk about is we actually use our kids detox too.
There's a kids detox.
Our kids take a couple of supplements. They take a multivitamin every day. They take an omega-3 fatty acid supplement
With D3.
that's combined with vitamin D3.
Mm-hmm.
So far that's 3 things, but it's in 2 supplements, so it's very cost effective. The next thing they take is a probiotic powder. We
Yep.
usually do that during the day in their water. And then at night, they take their detox supplement, which is also a powder.
Yep.
And then they use protein like us.
Yep, they use the protein just like us.
Hudson puts on essential oils every day on his feet. So it works.
They do.
And that's it. So, it's just a system. Like, we have a system in place. And I think that's what wins for us for families, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like just literally having systems, like writing down. For me, I write stuff down because I have to remember it. That's the only way I can keep track of things with a 6-year-old, 4-year-old, and 1-year-old. So, literally, like having a system of like, this is what I do in the morning, this is what I do in the mid-morning, afternoon, evening. Systems are huge.
So for me, it's anchoring to something. So for me, like neck traction happens in the morning before I brush my teeth. I was telling a patient today, she said, I'm just really, I do my neck traction, pretty consistently, but I'm struggling to do it twice a day. And I'm like, why? And she goes, well, it's just remembering to do it. And so I go, do you brush your teeth every day? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, do you remember to brush it twice a day? She goes, yeah. She's like, okay, I get it. I'm like, no, we're not done yet. I said, what I want you to do is take your toothbrush and I want you to either tie a ribbon on it or put a string on it or a rubber band or something like that. That's a reminder, and you are not allowed to brush your teeth now until you've done your neck traction.
Yep.
So when you anchor it to something that you're already have made a habit of, right? Like, she doesn't forget to brush her teeth.
No.
How does she forget to do her neck traction? Because she
Right.
doesn't value it yet, and she
Yeah.
hasn't created a habit out of it. So for me, supplements. Where do I keep my supplements?
In the bathroom.
In the bathroom, because I want to take them. I literally anchor so many different things to brushing my teeth. Like, I put on my essential oils before I brush my teeth. There are certain things. 5-minute journal, like brush your teeth, like it's just what I like to anchor things to. And I'm not saying that I never get off track. Like, there are days I forget to take my supplements or stuff like that, but I always have a system to go back to of like,
Absolutely.
man, crap, I forgot to take it. Well, duh, you brushed your teeth this morning. Why didn't you take your supplements, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just one thing that I can do. So all those products you see on your screen right now, there'll be a link that we're going to put up on this video. Hopefully it's on the screen in front of you. Click it. You can go right to the store, Maximize Living, pick up any of the stuff you want. I'm telling you, literally life-changing supplements. Life-changing. Just a reminder of some of our upcoming things. If you are currently in our area, or you're a patient, or you're watching this and you're a guest, please go to alignhealthcenter.com and check out our events. If you go to patient resources, our events are right there. And all these classes coming up, juicing workshop coming up on June 5th. Ashley's talk was on June 12th.
Yep.
So if you go to Sandy's Health and Wellness, their webpage, I believe you can find, or their Facebook page, you can find information about her upcoming talk.
And I'll have it on Wellness Living as well.
Okay, we'll have it on Wellness Living. And then also for our in-office events, I have another website called Dr. Ryan Live, and that's just kind of a speaking website. If you ever go there, you can see the events there. There's Eventbrite, and you can register. So if you go to drryanlive.com, click on speaking, and you can see some of the events that are upcoming. We are under an hour and a half, which is a half hour longer than we plan on this being. So in the future, we'll dial these in, but I thought it was really powerful.
Yeah, no, this was incredible. I love the detox topic. I think it's so important. I think it's just very significant. I think, it's just crucial, especially where we are right now in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this was probably the topic I used to be the least excited about. And I'll tell you, I think now it's the topic I'm probably the most excited about in some ways.
Absolutely.
Because I just think it's so critical, and I didn't understand it as well before. And now that, just with our own lifestyles and going through stuff, I think, Hudson has my tendencies towards like skin issues.
Right.
And it's been really neat to watch him grow up, knowing he has that tendency because we've seen it rear its head a little bit.
Right.
But watching him grow up and not deal with, I dealt with that for 10 years, 8 to 10 years.
Right.
My skin literally, I had open sores on my shins and on my back of my legs and on my underarms and my elbow fosses, where your elbow creases. And I would literally have open sore wounds for years. I remember Bradley dealt with that too. And Bradley actually found out his was from fluoride.
Yeah, Bradley is his little brother, right?
Yeah. Remember he used to eat toothpaste as a kid?
Yeah, he ate.
Literally tubes of it. And all the fluoride, 18, 20 years later, was stored up in his body.
Right.
And was now trying to leach its way out through his skin.
Right.
because it luckily had made its way out of some of his organs.
Of course, yeah.
But
out of
his
the range.
hands were so bad he was like bleeding all over barbells and stuff because
Yep.
when he was working out, his skin was so bad.
Yeah, so you
Yeah,
had to detoxify. So no, it's a huge. I mean,
it's a huge issue.
it's very important to talk about, and I'm glad that we could do it today. And then we have more coming.
Awesome. Well, I guess this is where we say goodbye to everyone, and just thanks for joining us. And I don't say goodbye to you because I get to live with you, which is amazing. But thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome.